Hello. So, I needed to have a shower, get ready for the day. I needed some time to kind of process the earlier self-disclosure videos because that's a lot of mental work. So I ended off with, okay, so you have BPD, now what? Dialectical behavior therapy. So I'll talk a little bit about what I know and have experienced about dialectical behavior therapy. So DBT was created by a psychologist named Marsha Linehan. From what I have learned, Marsha worked as a psychologist with really volatile patients, I guess, who were suicidal and impulsive, and it basically, had exhibited all of the symptoms of someone with borderline personality disorder. So, a group of people who had been considered, low success rate for treatment, with catastrophic issues, impossible to treat, that kind of thing, the outcast. And so she studied this group of people, and from doing that, with a mix of kind of like Buddhist practices based on, mindfulness meditations, came up with dialectical behavior therapy. So there's 4 modules to dialectical behavior therapy. The first one is mindfulness. The second one is distress tolerance. The third one is emotional regulation. And the last one is interpersonal effectiveness. Sorry, I'm so sick. So mindfulness basically means to pay attention to something in the moment. And how, you might ask, does this help someone with borderline personality disorder? Well, what it does is there tends to be a dissociative aspect to having BPD. When I talked about how, like, for example, if I'm frightened or angry or overwhelmed by an emotion, I can't process in the same ability as other people. Like, I kind of go offline. I tend to overreact or underreact depending on the situation. So out of fear, it's like a fear-based response. Disassociation is triggered because I don't want to experience something. That's the point of disassociation. A part of your body has been primed to react, and now you have to kind of turn that off because you don't need it to keep interrupting your life anymore. So mindfulness works by bringing you back to the present moment to help buy you time so that you don't make an impulsive decision. It also helps you enjoy life because if you're not paying attention to things in the moment, you're not really living. So that's kind of the Buddhist philosophy that goes along with mindfulness, which is true. People who have mental health issues or have sustained trauma we spend most of our time kind of inside our heads. And that's not really where life is lived. It's lived in the real world, in the, outside the matrix. So it's important to get outside of your head, and mindfulness will help you do that. So once you're paying attention, the next step is that you're probably going to feel your emotions, right? So you're going to start feeling things that you might normally have pushed down because maybe you've distracted yourself, or maybe you've used substances, or maybe you've jumped from relationship to relationship, or maybe you've, avoid relationships at all costs, which is what, some people do with BPD, known as quiet borderlines. So you're going to start feeling feelings. So you need some emotional regulation skills that help you do just that. Things you can do to help regulate your emotions when you can't always, predict what's going to happen. You have a set of tools that you can just default to that are easy to access that you can use. So thirdly, you're going to be looking at distress tolerance. So now that you're paying attention, now that you're feeling your emotions, you need to figure out a way to deal with the pain that those emotions are going to cause that you've been pushing down. So you develop a sense of distress tolerance skills. Things like coping ahead. Things like opposite emotion action, which is a skill that I use a lot. If I feel like I'm triggered by something, and sometimes it's easier for me to just do the opposite of what I want to do because it doesn't always make sense in the moment. So if something in my head is screaming run, I might kind of plant my heels and stay. And just sit with that, uncomfortable feeling, because that's where the stress tolerance gives you skills. You're going to sit with that feeling. You're going to take deep breaths. You're going to say, are there facts that back up this feeling? But before you even get to that part, that's where you use those emotional regulation skills, right? Some people like me with BPD, our emotions can be so tense that we need something really as equally intense in energy to bring us back. So for me, something like ice works, right? I learned about ice in a dialectical behavior therapy group that I was in. The coldness of water, if you run your hands under water, sometimes doing really intense exercise really quickly in that moment can help. When you're in dialectical behavior therapy or when you're reading about dialectical behavior therapy, you'll learn about these skills. And lastly, interpersonal effectiveness. How to negotiate. It's communication. How do you... It's basically you're learning how to communicate your thoughts, feelings, and emotions and sensations in a new way. In a way that you've never really done before, because it was never safe to do that until now. And that's why you have to be patient with yourself, because sometimes we don't get to this place until a lot later in life. Sometimes certain symptoms and certain disorders of the mind can be latent. They can come out later on because maybe you've experienced enough pain to say, I'm done with that. Or you finally found a soft place to land in your life and someone who loves you and cares about you. And you realize that you finally have a bit of a foundation to move from. Maybe, perhaps, this is the first secure base you've ever had in your life. And it's not an easy thing. But you're doing it. And for people that love us with BPD, it's not easy. And my heart goes out to you because it's really hard. It's really hard and really trying. But it's also important to remember that y'all need help for yourself too, because there's a lot of skills that you can learn as well to help your partner. Because in essence, you're kind of a co-pilot on this reparenting program that we're on, because maybe you might be the first person we've ever really opened up to. So all of that stuff is just kind of spilling everywhere. And it's not up to you to fix. It's not up to, our partners or our families or our friends to fix this shit. But it's ethical to be mindful of the fact that it got there for a very good reason. And that 100% of the time, people who are really, really hurt emotionally because of trauma don't mean to do a lot of the things that we do. We're really kind of broken, but that doesn't mean that we are not empowered to change ourselves, and it doesn't mean that we're a lost cause. It's important that we lean on each other. And the reason why I've decided to be open about the fact that I suffer from borderline personality disorder, or emotional dysregulation disorder, or post-traumatic stress disorder, or a bit of both, or a bit of that, or some salt and pepper. The point is that you're not alone. So I hope this has been helpful. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and as God is my witness, sleep on it, because it will be better in the morning.